Right now, somewhere in Britain, a pensioner is sitting on £20,000 earning almost nothing, while the bank lends that very same money out at a small fortune. The high street is built on one bet, that you will never read the small print. But buried in the rules of every bank, building society, and the taxman himself are perfectly legal tricks worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds a year. None of these are truly illegal, despite the title. They are the things nobody at the counter will ever mention. Number 2 alone is worth over £4,000 a year, yet a third of those entitled never claim a penny. Before we count down all 25, hit subscribe. Number 25. Switching banks for the welcome bonus. Here is the simplest trick on this entire list, and the one your bank dreads the most. The big names, your Nationwides, your First Directs, your HSBCs, are locked in a quiet war for new customers, and they will pay you cold hard cash just to walk through the door. Move your current account using the official current account switch service, and you could pocket anywhere from £100 to over £175 for doing almost nothing. The switch is guaranteed to complete in 7 working days. Direct debits, standing orders, your salary or pension, all of it moves across automatically, and the old account closes itself. Your bank counts on loyalty and inertia, on you being too nervous to bother. But a pensioner with a spare afternoon and 2 direct debits to redirect can earn more in a week than a year's interest on a typical account. Some have done it 3 or 4 times in a single year. Number 24. Escaping the loyalty trap. That old savings account you opened in 1998, the one with the friendly name and the passbook. It is very likely paying you next to nothing. Banks adore long-standing customers because long-standing customers do not look. They open an account paying a tempting rate, then quietly slash it once the headlines fade, knowing most people never check. With the Bank of England base rate sitting around 4.5% in early 2026, there is no excuse to be earning a fraction of 1%. Pull out last year's statement and find your actual rate. If it begins with a 0 point, you are being taken for a ride, and moving that balance to a competitive easy access account could quadruple your interest overnight. The bank will not write to tell you this. They would much rather you stayed exactly where you are, asleep, while inflation nibbles away at every pound you have saved. Number 23. Regular saver accounts. Here is one the banks bury at the back of the website. A regular saver account often pays a far higher rate than any ordinary savings account, sometimes 6 or 7%, in exchange for one simple promise. You pay in a set amount each month, often capped at £200 or £300. For a pensioner drip-feeding money from a pension or a larger pot, this is free money the high street hopes you never spot. The catch they rely on is confusion. People assume the headline rate applies to a lump sum, then feel cheated when it does not. But used properly, by trickling savings in month by month, often from a linked current account, that high rate works beautifully. Many of the best regular savers are reserved for existing customers of the bank, which dovetails neatly with the switching trick we just covered. Stack the two together and you turn a quiet account into a little engine. Number 22. Spreading your cash across banks. This one could one day save your entire life savings, and it costs nothing. If a UK bank or building society collapses, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme protects up to £85,000 of your money, per person, per banking licence. The words "per licence" are where the danger hides. Several familiar high street names actually share a single licence behind the scenes, which means money you think is split is really sitting in one protected basket. A careful pensioner with a decent nest egg keeps no more than £85,000 with any one licence, and a couple can shelter double that by using joint accounts. The bank will never warn you about this, because admitting the limit means admitting that banks can fail. They did in 2008. Check which brands share a licence, then spread accordingly. It is insurance you already paid for. You simply have to claim its full protection. Number 21. Reclaiming the packaged account fee. Somewhere along the way, a great many people were nudged into a premium or packaged current account that charges a monthly fee, perhaps £10 to £15, in return for travel insurance, breakdown cover, and mobile phone protection. For a pensioner who rarely travels and already has cover elsewhere, that is £150 a year vanishing for benefits you never use. The bank loves these accounts because the fee is automatic and invisible. Most people forget they are even paying it. Dig out your statement, look for that monthly charge, and ask yourself whether you genuinely use a single perk. If not, downgrade to a free account in minutes. And here is the part they really do not want known. If the account was missold to you, if nobody checked whether you could even use the insurance, you may be entitled to claim every fee back with interest. Number 20. Reward and cashback current accounts. Why should your bank profit from your gas bill while you get nothing? A handful of current accounts now pay you cashback on household direct debits, or a flat monthly reward simply for paying in a small amount and keeping a couple of direct debits active. For a pensioner whose energy, water, council tax and broadband all leave the same account each month that can quietly add up to £50 or £100 a year, money returned on spending you were doing anyway. Some accounts carry a small monthly fee, so the trick is to do the sums and make sure your cashback comfortably beats it. The high street keeps these rewards in the fine print precisely because the maths often favours the customer. Treat your everyday bills as a source of income rather than a one-way drain, and money that used to disappear starts trickling back into your pocket each month. Number 19. Fixed-rate bond laddering. When you lock savings into a fixed-rate bond, you usually get a better rate than easy access, but your money is trapped for the term. Pensioners hate that, and rightly so because life happens. The loophole is a technique called laddering. Instead of putting everything into one bond, you split it across several with staggered end dates, perhaps 1, 2, and 3 years. Every year, one bond matures, freeing up a chunk of cash, while the rest keeps earning the higher fixed rate. You get the best of both worlds, strong interest and regular access. Banks prefer you to dump everything into one long bond and forget it, because a confused or trapped customer is a profitable customer. A laddered saver, by contrast, is always positioned to grab the best new rate as it appears, never locked in at yesterday's number while better deals pass them by. Number 18. Notice accounts. Here is the quiet middle ground the high street rarely advertises. A notice account sits between easy access and a fixed bond. You agree to give the bank warning, say 30, 60 or 90 days before you withdraw. And in return, you earn a noticeably higher rate than an instant access account, often without locking your money away for years. The trick is to plan ahead. If you know a big bill is coming, give your notice early so the funds are free when you need them. Banks keep these accounts off the front page because they would rather you sat in a poor instant access account paying them, not you. A little forward planning turns waiting time into real extra interest. Number 17. The credit card you should use for big purchases. Here is where things get interesting and where the banks really squirm. When you buy something costing between £130,000 and £30,000, paying even part of it on a credit card hands you a powerful legal shield called Section 75. If the company goes bust, or the goods are faulty, or the holiday is cancelled, your card provider is jointly liable and must refund you. A new sofa, a cruise, double glazing, a mobility scooter. Pay a deposit on the card, and your money is protected in a way a debit card or cash can never match. Pensioners are often told to just pay cash to be safe. That is precisely backwards. Used sensibly and cleared in full each month so you never pay interest, the credit card is the safest way to make a large purchase in Britain. The protection costs you nothing, yet most never knowingly use it. Number 16. Premium bonds. Every prize from national savings and investments. Premium bonds is completely tax-free, and you can hold up to £50,000 of them. No interest to declare, nothing eating into your tax allowances, and your capital is backed by the Treasury itself, making it about as safe as money gets in this country. The average return tracks a prize rate that has, in recent years, rivaled ordinary savings, and you get the small thrill of the monthly draw, with prizes from £25 all the way up to £1 million. For a pensioner who has already filled their tax-free allowances, premium bonds are a quiet little vault the taxman cannot touch. The high street dislikes them because every pound moved into premium bonds is a pound they can no longer lend out at a profit. A couple can hold £100,000 between them, all of it sheltered. Number 15. The tax-free corner at NS&I. Beyond premium bonds sits a whole shelf of government-backed savings the high street would rather you forgot. National Savings and Investments has, at various times, offered fixed interest and index-linked savings certificates whose returns are entirely free of tax, along with income bonds and other products with the rock-solid security of the Treasury behind them. For a pensioner worried less about chasing the highest rate and more about never losing a penny of capital, this is a comfort the commercial banks simply cannot match. Availability comes and goes, so keep an eye on what NS&I currently offers and pounce when a tax-free or inflation-linked issue reopens. Banks rarely mention NS&I at all, for the obvious reason that it is a direct competitor owned by the state. But for safety and tax efficiency in retirement, it deserves a long, hard look before you hand another pound to the high street. Number 14. The personal savings allowance. This is the big one the banks stay very quiet about. As a basic rate taxpayer, you can earn £1,000 of savings interest every single year completely tax-free. Higher rate taxpayers get £500. That allowance sits there whether you use it or not, and for most pensioners, it means the interest on a substantial pot of ordinary savings never troubles the taxman at all. With rates where they are in 2026, £1,000 of tax-free interest can come from tens of thousands of pounds of savings. Here is the catch worth knowing. From April 2026, the tax on any interest above your allowance rose, which makes using your allowance fully more valuable than ever. The bank will happily report your interest to HMRC, but they will never sit you down and explain how much you are allowed to earn before a single penny of tax is due. Knowing that number changes everything about where you keep your money. Number 13. Joint accounts double the allowance. Here is a piece of arithmetic the high street hopes married couples and partners never do. That personal savings allowance we just discussed belongs to each individual, so a couple, between them, can earn £2,000 of savings interest tax-free every year as basic rate taxpayers. Hold your savings in a joint account, and the interest is split equally for tax purposes, meaning each of you uses your own allowance against your own half. A widow or widower with a single allowance can suddenly find that thoughtful planning in earlier years made a real difference. The lesson is simple but powerful. Two people are not taxed as one. The taxman sees two separate people, each with their own allowances and their own tax-free room. Use both and you double the shelter on every pound of interest you earn. Number 12. Reclaiming tax the taxman should never have taken. Plenty of pensioners are quietly overpaying tax on their savings and have no idea. It can happen when HMRC adjusts your tax code based on an old estimate of your interest or when too much is deducted from certain investment income. The money is yours and you can claim it back, but only if you ask. The form is called an R40 and a repayment claim can be backdated several years. For someone whose income dipped or whose savings interest came in lower than the taxman assumed, this can mean a welcome check for tax that was never owed in the first place. Nobody from HMRC will knock on your door to hand it over. The over-collected money simply stays put unless you reclaim it. Check whether your tax code has been quietly reduced to grab tax on savings you no longer earn. If it has, the form is free and the money is yours. Number 11. Put the savings in the lower earner's name. Within a couple, who legally owns the savings makes a genuine difference to the tax bill, and the banks never breathe a word. If one of you is a higher rate taxpayer and the other pays basic rate or no tax at all, moving the bulk of the savings into the lower earner's name means the interest is taxed at their lower rate, or not at all. A non-tax-paying spouse may have a personal savings allowance plus other tax-free room sitting completely unused. Shifting savings across to them is perfectly legal between spouses and civil partners, and there is no tax on the transfer itself. It is one of the oldest, cleanest pieces of household tax planning there is, yet thousands of couples leave money on the table every year by holding everything in the name of whoever happens to earn more. The taxman taxes the owner, so choose the owner wisely. Number 10. Doubling your ISA across a couple. Now here is where the banks get truly sneaky about what they leave unsaid. Every adult in Britain has an annual ISA allowance of £20,000, inside which all interest, dividends and gains are tax-free forever. The word every is the loophole. The high street will happily open one ISA for you and consider the job done. They will not point out that your husband, wife, or civil partner has an identical untouched allowance sitting right beside yours. Over a decade, a disciplined couple can move hundreds of thousands of pounds entirely out of the reach of tax, simply by using 2 allowances instead of 1. The allowance does not roll over. Miss a year, and it is gone for good. Number 9. Timing your bond interest across tax years. This is a subtle one, and the banks count on it being too fiddly for ordinary savers to grasp. When you take out a fixed-rate bond, you can often choose whether the interest is paid out monthly, annually, or all in one lump at the end. That choice quietly decides which tax year the interest lands in. A pensioner who picks a 3-year bond paying everything at maturity can find a huge slug of interest crashing into a single year, blowing straight through their personal savings allowance and triggering a tax bill that need never have happened. Choose interest paid monthly or annually instead, spread across separate tax years, and each year's portion may slip neatly under your allowance. Same bond, same money, completely different tax outcome. The bank presents the payment options as mere preference. In truth, the timing can be worth hundreds of pounds, and for a larger saver, it can be the difference between tax-free and taxed. Number 8. The marriage allowance. Here is free money sitting in plain sight that around 1 million eligible couples still fail to claim. If one partner earns below the personal allowance, currently £12,570, and the other is a basic rate taxpayer, the lower earner can transfer 10% of their unused allowance, around £1,260, across to their spouse or civil partner. The result is a tax saving of up to £252 a year. And here is the part that makes pensioners sit up. You can backdate the claim up to 4 years if you were eligible all along, which can mean a lump sum of over £1,000 landing in one go. It is claimed directly through HMRC, free of charge, and takes minutes. No bank, no high street, no advisor on commission has any reason to tell you. Yet for a retired couple on a modest income, it is one of the easiest wins on this entire list. Number 7. The starting rate for savings. This is one of the best kept secrets in the British tax system, and it was almost designed for pensioners on a modest income. On top of your personal allowance and your personal savings allowance, there is a separate starting rate for savings worth up to £5,000, taxed at 0%. It is aimed squarely at people whose income from pensions and earnings is low. The lower your other income, the more of that £5,000 of tax-free savings interest you can use. For a pensioner living mainly on the state pension and a small private pension, this can mean thousands of pounds of interest arriving with no tax whatsoever. The rules taper as your other income rises, which is exactly why the banks never mention it. It only helps the people they assume will not notice, but notice it, and a careful retiree can build a genuinely large tax-free savings income. Number 6. The tax-free stack worth £18,000. Now stack the last few entries together and watch what happens, because this is the combination the high street truly does not want you to see. Add your personal allowance of £12,570, the starting rate for savings of £5,000, and the personal savings allowance of £1,000, and a pensioner whose only other income is small can receive up to £18,570 in a year with a large slice of it as savings interest and pay no income tax at all. That is not a trick or a dodge, it is the law, built right into the system, available to anyone whose income falls in the right shape. The reason almost nobody uses it in full is that nobody is paid to explain it. Neither the bank nor the taxman has any incentive to sit you down and show you how to legally earn this much tax-free in retirement. Number 5. Council tax reductions hiding in plain sight. Step away from the bank for a moment, because this one quietly saves pensioners more than almost any savings rate. If you live alone, you are entitled to a 25% single-person discount on your council tax, full stop. Beyond that, pensioners on a low income can apply for council tax reduction, which can cut the bill dramatically or even wipe it out entirely. There are further discounts if you or someone you live with has a severe mental impairment, such as dementia, or if your home has features fitted for a disability. Councils do not chase you to apply. The money stays in their coffers unless you put your hand up. Thousands of older people pay full whack on a bill that should be slashed simply because no letter ever arrived explaining their rights. A single phone call to your local council can be worth hundreds of pounds every year for the rest of your life. Number 4. The £3,000 gift that beats the taxman. Here is where the wealthiest families have always stayed one step ahead, and now you can too. Every year, you can give away £3,000 entirely free of inheritance tax, and if you did not use last year's allowance, you can carry it forward once, gifting £6,000 in a single year. On top of that, gifts made more than 7 years before you die normally fall completely out of your estate, no matter the size. With the inheritance tax nil rate band frozen at £325,000, plus a further residence allowance of up to £175,000 when leaving a home to your children, careful early gifting can pass a great deal to your family rather than the Treasury. Banks and the taxman are content to let estates drift into the inheritance tax net through sheer inaction. A pensioner who starts gifting sensibly and early while keeping enough to live comfortably can hand far more to the people they love. Number 3. Bed and ISA. This is the move that turns ordinary taxed savings and investments into a tax-free fortress, and the high street stays remarkably quiet about it. If you hold shares, funds or savings outside an ISA, you can sell them and immediately buy them back inside your ISA wrapper, a maneuver nicknamed Bed and ISA. From that moment on, every scrap of interest, every dividend and every pound of growth is tax-free, forever. Done a little each tax year, using your £20,000 allowance, you can gradually migrate a sizable pot into the tax-free zone without ever exceeding your annual capital gains allowance. For a pensioner sitting on decades of savings, held in ordinary accounts, slowly being taxed year after year, this is the escape hatch, and the brokers can do it for you in a single instruction. The reason it is not shouted from the rooftops is simple. Money sheltered in an ISA is money the taxman, and often the bank, can no longer feed on. Number 2. Pension credit, the golden key. This is the single most valuable entry on the entire list, and it is shamefully underclaimed. Pension credit tops up the weekly income of pensioners on a low income to a guaranteed minimum, recently around £227 for a single person and roughly £347 for a couple. On its own, that is worth thousands of pounds a year. But the real magic is that pension credit acts as a key that unlocks a whole vault of other help. Housing support, a council tax reduction, help with NHS costs, the warm home discount, cold weather payments, and for the over 75s a free TV licence. Yet around a third of those entitled to it never claim a single penny, often because they wrongly assume their modest savings disqualify them. They usually do not. You can claim on the phone, and the claim can be backdated. No bank profits from telling you this, but for the right pensioner, it is life-changing money, every week, for the rest of their life. Number 1. Your ISA for life and the allowance you can inherit. And in first place, the loophole that could outlive you. From April 2027, savers under 65 will see how much they can pour into a cash ISA each year, cut sharply, down towards £12,000. But pensioners age 65 and overkeep the full £20,000 cash ISA allowance. And there is more, because this is the part that brings a tear to the eye and money to the family. When a spouse or civil partner dies, the survivor inherits their late partner's ISA allowance through something called the additional permitted subscription. In plain English, you can shelter your late husband or wife's ISA savings inside your own ISA, on top of your normal allowance, keeping that money tax-free, rather than watching it lose its protection the moment they passed. It is the bank's best-kept secret and the kindest rule in the book. Most grieving families never hear of it. Now you have. So there you have it. 25 perfectly legal moves the high street would rather you slept through. Try just one this week. Switch an account, claim the marriage allowance, ring your council, or finally check whether you qualify for pension credit. Then tell me in the comments which one put money back in your pocket, because the banks have counted on our silence for far too long. None of this is financial advice, and the figures here reflect the 2025 and 2026 rules, which do change. So always check your own circumstances. But the principle never changes. The banks knew. The taxman knew. Now you know too.